Oh, 3. Dad's back. Hi.
Yes, I am back.
You are back.
Different banyan, same hair.
Exactly. No, different hair. I was wearing the other wig yesterday.
Me?
Yeah, I was wearing the big brown one.
Yeah.
Well, now you're back. Wash your hands.
Yeah, I will do. Just walked in the door.
I know. I'm just reminding you to wash your hands.
Yeah, I've only back to them twice since I've been here.
Good.
So I am aware. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go out to the shed and get the stuff I need for the barbecue.
Oh, we're doing barbecue.
Well, if it stays dry.
If it stays dry, Dad's going to do a barbecue outside. That's quite cool. Don't know why you can't hear me. Yeah. I did. I just made a whole batch of tea for everyone. Right. Where were we? So, I'm reading through, as you know, Mythos by Stephen Fry, and Dad's just come back from the shops. He's not watching The Kingdom of Heaven today, but I've set up in here already. Anyway, so the switch. In order to see this marvellous plan in motion, Rhea went to Crete to confer with a she-goat named Amalthea. Also living on the island were Melee, nymphs of the manna-bearing ash tree. If you remember, they had sprung from the soil soaked by Uranos' blood, along with the Furies and the Giants. After an encouraging conversation with Amalthea, Rhea conferred with these mild and sweet-natured nymphs. Satisfied that the things she needed to achieve on Crete could be achieved, she returned to Mount Athyris to prepare for her time. Kronos had seen by now that his wife was expecting, and he readied himself for the happy day when he could consume the 6th of his children. He was taking no chances. The prophecy of Uranos still rang in his ears, and the suspicious pangs of paranoia that ravage all despotic usurpers grew fiercer in this Stalin each day. Gaia had told Rhea about a certain stone, an object of perfect magnetite, just the right size for her purposes, smooth and shaped like a bean, which could be found in the hills not far from Mount Athyris itself. In the morning, Kronos liked to stride from one end of Greece to the other, visiting each of his Titan brothers and sisters, outwardly to consult with them, in truth to make sure that they were not plotting against him. At the time she knew he would be on the seashore visiting Oceanus and Tethys, Rhea went to the place that Gaia had described, found the stone and took it home to Mount Athyris, where she swaddled it in linen. The plan was coming together. One afternoon, not long afterwards, with Kronos near enough to hear her, but far enough away to take some time to arrive, Rhea began to scream the screams of childbirth. Louder and louder came her agonized howls, tearing the fabric of the air until, after a sudden silence, they were replaced by the best impression she could give of a baby's first gasping cries. Sure enough, Kronos approached. His shadow fell over Rhea. "Give me the child," he said. "Dear lord and husband," Rhea cast him an imploring look. "Will you not let me keep this one? Look at him, so sweet, so innocent, so harmless." With a rough laugh, Kronos snatched the tightly wrapped baby from Rhea's cradling arms and bolted it down in one great gulp. Swaddling linen and all, down it went like the others, never touching the sides, punching his breastbone once, then twice. Kronos gave a large belch and left his tormented wife to her grief-stricken sobs. The moment he had gone, the sobs turned to hysterical, barely suppressed chokes and screams of laughter. Catching her breath and rising from her bed, Rhea slipped down the mountainside and made her way to Crete, travelling as fast as anyone could in so heavily pregnant a state. The Cretan child. Rhea's announcement on Crete. Rhea's accouchement on Crete was easy enough. Tenderly assisted by her she-goat and the melee, she prepared to give birth in the safety and comfort of a cave on Mount Ida. Soon, she was delivered of a quite transcendently beautiful baby boy. She named him Zeus. Just as Gaia had reunited her youngest child Kronos in order to take revenge on her son and husband Uranos, so Rhea vowed she would rear this, her youngest child, to destroy her husband and brother Kronos. The dreadful cycle of bloodlust, greed, and killing that marked the birth pangs of the primordial world would continue into the next generation. Rhea knew she must return to Mount Ithyrus before Kronos noticed her absence and suspected that something was wrong. As had been arranged, the goat Almathea would suckle the baby with her rich, nutritious milk, while the melee would feed him on the sweet and wholesome manna that wept its gum from their ash trees. In the way young Zeus could grow up on Crete strong and well-nourished, Rhea would visit him as often as possible to tutor him in the arts of revenge. Although this is the best well-known version, there are many different accounts of how Zeus escaped the attention of the great Kronos, god of earth, sky, and seas. One records that a nymph named Adamanthea suspended the infant Zeus by a rope from a tree swung up between the earth, sea, and sky. He remained in this way invisible to his father. It is a pleasingly Dali-esque image, the baby who would become the mightiest of all beings, gurgling, babbling, and chuckling in mid-air, hanging between the elements over which he was destined to rule. The Oath of Allegiance. While unknown to his father, Zeus grew strong on goat's milk and manna in Crete and learned to walk, talk, and understand the world around him. Kronos summoned his Titan siblings to Mount Ithyrus to renew their pledges of loyalty and obedience. "This is our world now," he told them. "Fate has decreed that I must be childless, the better to rule, but you must do your duty. Breed. Fill the world with our Titan race. Bring them up to obey me in all things, and I will grant you lands and provinces of your own. Now bow before me." The Titans bowed low, and Kronos gave a grunt of satisfaction. That was the closest he ever came to an expression of happiness. The vengeful prophecy of his father had been avenged and averted. The eternal age of Titans could begin. The Cretan boy. Kronos may have grunted with satisfaction, but Moros, the figuration of destiny and doom, smiled, as he always does when the powerful exhibit confidence. On this occasion, Moros smiled because he could see that Zeus was flourishing in Crete. He was growing into the strongest and most striking male in all creation. Indeed, his radiance had become almost painful to look upon. The goodness of goat's milk and the nurturing potency of manna had given him strong bones, a clear complexion, sparkling eyes, and glossy hair. He made the journey, to use the Greek terms, from Paius, boy, and Ephebus, teenager, to Kuros, youth, and thence into a fine example of what we might call today a young adult. Even now, the first downy outlines of what was to become a legendary and mighty example of the art of the beard were showing themselves on his chin and cheeks. He possessed the confidence and unforced air of command that marks out those destined to lead. He was quicker to laughter than anger, but when his eye was roused, he could frighten every living creature within his orbit. From the first, he exhibited a blend of zest for life and strength of will that filled even his mother with awe. And some attested that, Amanthia's milk conferred extraordinary capabilities on the youth as he grew. To this day, Cretan guides entertain visitors with tales of the young Zeus's remarkable powers. They tell the story, as if it happened within their lifetimes, of how, as an infant playing with his beloved nanny goat and unaware of his own strength, Zeus accidentally snapped off one of her horns. By virtue of his already prodigious divine powers, this broken horn instantly filled itself with the most delicious food: fresh bread, vegetables, fruit, cured meats, and smoked fish. A supply that never gave out no matter how much was taken from it. Thus originated the celebrated Horn of Plenty, the cornucopia. Zeus's determined mother visited Crete whenever she felt able to slip away from the ever-watchful Kronos. "Never forget what your father did. He ate your brothers and sisters. He tried to eat you. He is your enemy." Zeus would listen as Rhea described the unhappy condition of the world under Kronos. "He rules by fear. He has no sense of loyalty or trust. This is not the way, my Zeus." "Does this make him strong?" "No, it makes him weak. The Titans are his family, his brothers and sisters, nephews and nieces. Already some are beginning to resent his monstrous tyranny. When the time comes, you will exploit that resentment." "Yes, mother." "A true leader forges alliances. A leader is admired and trusted." "Yes, mother." "A leader is loved." "Yes, mother." "You laugh at me, but this is true." "Yes, Rhea slapped her son. "Be serious, you are no fool. I can see that for myself. Adamanthia tells me that you are intelligent but impetuous, that you spend too much time hunting wolves, teasing the sheep, climbing trees, seducing the ash tree nymphs. It is time that you were properly schooled. You are 16 now, and soon you must make our move." "Yes, mother." The Oceanid and the Potion. Rhea asked her friend Metis, wise and beautiful daughter of Tethys and Oceanus, to prepare her son for what was to come. "He is clever, but wayward and rash. Teach him patience, craft, and guile." Zeus was captivated by Metis from the start. He had never seen such beauty. The Titaness was a little smaller than most of her race, but endowed with a grace and gravity that made her shine. The step of a deer and the guile of a fox, the power of a lion, the softness of a dove, all allied to a presence and force of mind that sent the boy dizzy. "Lie down with me." "No, we shall go for a walk. I have many things to say to you. Here, on the grass." Metis smiled and took his hand. "We have work to do, Zeus. But I love you." "Then you will do as I say. When we love someone, we always want to please them, do we not?" "Don't you love me?" Metis laughed, though in truth she was astounded by the halo of glamour and charisma that radiated from the bold and handsome youth. But her friend Rhea had also asked her to undertake his education, and Metis was never one to betray a trust. For a year she taught him how to look into the hearts and judge the interiors and intentions of others. How to imagine and how to reason, how to find the strength to let passions cool before acting, how to make a plan, and how to know when a plan needs to be changed or abandoned, how to let the head rule the heart and the heart win the affection of others. Her refusal to allow their relationship to take on a physical dimension only made Zeus love her more. Although she never told him no, Metis returned the love. As a result, they existed as a kind of crackle in the air whenever they were close. One day, Zeus saw Metis standing over a large boulder and bashing his flat surface with a small round-ended stone. "What on earth are you doing?" "Crushing mustard seeds and crystals of salt." "Of course you are." "Today," said Metis, "is your 17th birthday. You are ready to go to Epirus and fulfill your destiny. Rhea will be here soon, but I must first finish a little preparation of my own devising." "What's in that jar?" "In here there is a mixture of poppy juice and copper sulfate, sweetened with a syrup of manna provided by the Malay, our friends of the ash tree. I'll put all the ingredients together and shake them up, like so. I don't understand. Look, here is your mother. She will explain. And Metis looked on. Rhea outlined the plan to Zeus. Mother and son gazed deep into each other's eyes, took a deep breath, and swore an oath. Son to mother, mother to son. They were ready. Rebirth of the Five. Midnight. The thick cloth that Erebus and Nyx threw across earth, sea and sky to mark the end of Hemera and Aether's diurnal round blackened the world. In a valley, high up on Mount Ethyrus, the Lord of all paced alone, banging his chest, restless and miserable. Kronos had grown into into the most foul-tempered and discontented Titan of all. Power over everything gave him no satisfaction. Since Rhea had, without explanation, banned him from the conjugal bed, sleep had been a stranger to him too. Denied its healing balm, his mood and digestion, neither good at the best of times, had worsened. The last of the babies he had swallowed seemed to have provoked a sharp acid reflux that the previous 5 had not. Where was the joy in omnipotence when his stomach griped at the thoughts, stumbled blindly in the thick fog of insomnia? His heart lifted to a state approaching something like happiness. However, when he heard unexpectedly the sound of Rhea's low, sweet voice humming gently to herself as she came up the slope towards the mountain top. Loveliest sister and dearest wife. It was quite natural that she had been a little upset by his consumption of her 6 children. But she surely understood that he had no choice. She was a Titan. She knew about her duty and destiny. He called out to her, Rhea? Kronos, awake at this hour? I have been awake for more days and nights than I can count. Hypnos and Morpheus have made themselves strangers to me. Full of scorpions is my mind, dear wife. Macbeth, another murderer deprived of sleep and plagued by dark prophecies, was to say the same thing, but not for many years yet. O trust, my love, cannot the wit and craft of a Titaness surpass those silly sleep demons? There is nothing Hypnos and Morpheus can do to soothe your aching body, to calm your racing mind, to ease your wounded spirit that I cannot match with something sweet and warm of my own. Your sweet warm lips, your sweet warm thighs, your sweet warm, those in time, impatient lord. But first I have brought you a present, a lovely boy to be your cup-bearer. From the recess stepped Zeus, a radiant smile lighting up his handsome face. He bowed and proffered Kronos a jewelled goblet, which the Titan snatched greedily. Pretty, very pretty. I might try him later, he said, casting an admiring eye over Zeus and drinking down the contents of the goblet in one greedy draught. But Rhea, it is you that I love. It was too dark for him to see that Rhea had hoisted one elbow into an arch of contemptuous incredulity. You love me? She hissed. You love me? You who ate all but one of my darling children? You dare to talk to me of love? Kronos gave an unhappy hiccup. He was undergoing the strangest sensations. He frowned and tried to focus. What was Rhea saying? It could not be that she no longer loved him. His mind was even more foggy, and his stomach had become even more turbulent than usual. What was wrong with him? Oh, and there was something else she had said, something that made no sense at all. What do you mean? He asked in a voice thick with confusion and nausea. By saying that I ate all but one of your children. I ate all of them. I distinctly remember. A strong young voice cracked through the night air like a whip. Not quite all, father. Kronos. The nausea rising in an alarming surge turned in shock to see the young cupbearer step from the shadows. Who? Kronos' question turned into a sudden uprush of uncontrollable vomiting. From his gut, in one heaving spasm, erupted a large stone. The linen in which it had once wrapped had long since been dissolved by stomach acid. Kronos gazed at it in stupidity, his eyes swimming and his face white. But before he could understand what he was seeing, he was assailed by the horrible and unmistakable feeling that tells a vomiter there is more to come. Far more. Zeus leapt fleetingly forward, picked up the regurgitated boulder, and hurled it away, far away, much as Kronos had once flung Uranos' genitals far, far away from the exact same spot. We will find out later where it landed and what happened. Inside Kronos, the compound of salt, mustard, and impecturia continued to do its emetic work. One by one, he spewed up the 5 children he had swallowed. First out was Hera. Then came Poseidon, Demeter, Hades, and finally Hestia, before the tormented Titan collapsed in a paroxysm of exhausted panting. If you recall, Metis' potion also included a quantity of poppy juice. This immediately began to take somniferous effect, letting out one last great rumbling groan. Kronos rolled over and fell into a deep, deep sleep. With a cry of exultation, Zeus bent over his snoring father to grasp the great sickle and administer the coup de grace. He would sever Kronos' head in one blow and raise it up in triumph before the world, creating a victorious tableau that would never be forgotten and that artists would depict until the end of time. But the scythe, forged by Gaia for Kronos, could not be used against him. Powerful as Zeus was, he was unable even to pick it up. He tried once, but it felt as if it was fixed to the ground. Gaia gave it to him. And only Gaia can take it away from him, said Rhea. Let it be. But I must kill him, said Zeus. We must be revenged. His mother Earth protects him. Do not anger her. You will need her in time to come, but you will have your revenge. Zeus gave up his attempts to move the scythe. It was vexing, and he could not be bothered, and he could not behead his hated father as he lay there snoring like a pig. But his mother was right. It could wait. There was too much to celebrate. In the starlight over Mount Osiris, he and his 5 liberated siblings laughed and stamped and hooted and howled with delight. Their mother laughed too, clapping her hands with joy to see her radiant sons and daughters so well and so happy, out in the world at last and ready to claim their inheritance. Each of the 5 rescued ones took it in turn to embrace Zeus, their youngest but now eldest brother, their saviour and their leader. They swore allegiance to him forever. Together they would overthrow Kronos and his whole ugly race and establish a new order. They would not, despite their parentage, call themselves Titans. They would be gods. And not just gods, but the gods. The Beginning, Part 2. Clash of the Titans. At the summit of Mount Osiris, Kronos lay stretched out on the ground. The other Titans had not yet learned of Zeus's rescue of his brother and sisters, and it seemed likely that when they did, they would react with furious violence. Under cover of the night, Rhea and her 6 children slipped away, putting a distance between themselves and Titan country as they could. War, Zeus understood clearly, was inevitable. Kronos would not rest as long as his children lived, and Zeus was just as determined to dethrone his father. He heard louder than ever the sound he had heard within him since infancy, a softly incessant whisper from Moros telling him that it was his destiny to rule. The bloody, violent, and destructive conflict that followed is known to historians as the Titanomachy. While most of the details of this 10-year war may be lost to us, we do know that the heat and fury, the explosive power and colossal energy released by the battling titans, gods and monsters, caused mountains to bellow fire and the ground itself to quake and crack. Many islands and landmarks were formed by these battles. Whole continents shifted and reshaped themselves, and much of the world as we know it now owes its geography to these seismic disturbances, to this literal earth-shaking conflict. In a straight fight, it is almost certain that the combined strength of the Titans would have become too much for their young adversaries. They were stronger and more remorselessly savage. All but Clymene's sons Prometheus and Epimetheus sided with Kronos. Far outnumbering the small group of self-styled gods ranged against them under Zeus's generalship. But just as Ouranos had paid dearly for his crime of imprisoning the Cyclops and Hecatoncheires inside Gaia, so Kronos was about to pay for the blunder of imprisoning them in the caverns of Tartarus. It was the wise and clever Metis who advised Zeus to go down and release his 3 one-eyed and 300-handed brothers. He offered them freedom in perpetuity if they would help him defeat Kronos and the Titans. They needed no further encouragement. The Gigantes, too, chose to side with Zeus and proved themselves brave and tireless fighters. In the final decisive battle, the pitiless ferocity of the Hecatoncheires, not to mention their surplus of heads and hands, combined quite marvellously with the wild electric power of the Cyclops, whose names were, if you recall, Brightness, Lightning, and Thunder. Argus and Steripes and Brontes. These gifted craftsmen hammered their mastery of storms into thunderbolts for Zeus to use as weapons, which he learned to fling with pinpoint accuracy at his enemies, blasting them to atoms. Under his direction, the Hecatoncheires, I will pronounce that differently every single time, picked up and hurled rocks at furious speed, while the Cyclops harried and dazzled the enemy with lightning showers and terrifying peals of thunder. The 100 hands of the Hecatoncheires scooped and launched innumerable rocks at the enemy like so many demented windmilling catapults, until, bludgeoned and battered, the Titans called for a ceasefire. We will leave them, their giant bloodied head bowed in full and final surrender, and take a moment to look at what else had been going on in the world whilst battle raged for those 10 terrible years. The proliferation. The fire and fury of war had scorched, enriched, and fertilized the earth. New growth burst through to create a fresh green world for the triumphant gods to inherit. If you remember, Cosmos had once been nothing but chaos. Then chaos had spewed up the first forms of life, the primordial beings, and the principles of lightness and darkness. As each generation developed, and new entities were born, and in turn reproduced, so complexity increased. Those old primordial and elemental principles were spun into life forms of even greater diversity, variety, and richness. The beings that were born became endowed with nuanced and unique personalities and individuality. In computer language, as in computer language, it was as if life went from 2-bit to 4-bit to 8-bit to 16-bit to 32-bit to 64-bit and beyond, etc. Each intonation represented millions and then billions of new permutations of size, form, and what you might call resolution. High-definition character, such as we pride ourselves in having as modern humans, came into existence, and there was an explosion of what biologists call specimation, as new forms burst into being. I like to picture this first stage of creation as an old-fashioned TV screen on which a monochrome game of Pong played. You remember Pong? It had 2 white rectangles from rackets and a square dot for a ball. Existence was a primitive pixelated form of bouncing tennis. Some 35 to 40 years later, they had evolved ultra-high-res 3D graphics with virtual and augmented reality. So it was for the Greek cosmos, a creation that became, with clunky and elemental low-res outlines, now exploded into rich, varied life. Creatures and gods that were ambiguous, inconsistent, unpredictable, intriguing, and unknowable had arrived. To use a distinction made by E.M. Forster when talking about people in novels, the world now went from flat characters to rounded characters, to the development of personalities whose actions could surprise. The fun began. The Muses. One of the original Titans, Mnemosyne, Memory, was mother by Zeus to 9 highly intelligent and creative daughters, the Muses, who lived at various times on Mount Helicon, where the Hippocunary fountain later played. On Mount Parnassus above Delphi, and Pieria in Thalasse, where the Pierian spring, the metamorphical source of all the arts and science, flowed. We think of the Muses today as patron saints of the arts in general, and private sources of inspiration in particular. "Oh, for a muse of fire," cries the chorus at the opening of Shakespeare's Henry V. He or she is my muse, as we might say for those who fire our creativity and spur on to greatness. The Muses can be found in music, amusements, museums, and general musings. W.H. Auden believed that the image of a capricious goddess whispering ideas into the poet's ear was the best way of accounting for the maddening unreliability of creative inspiration. Sometimes she gives you gold, sometimes you read back what she has dictated and see that it is dross. The Muse's mother might be Memory, but their father is Zeus, whose faithless inconsistency is the subject of many, many stories yet to come. But let us meet these 9 sisters, each of whom represents and stands patron to their own particular art form. I think I'll leave it there. I think that's a good point, and we can then have a look at the 9 Muses tomorrow. So far, I am this far through the book. That's 3 live streams there. So we've got another 3, 6, 9. I mean, we have plenty for this quarantine time. The end times. Welcome to the end times. So, now this is the part where I answer the same questions you've been giving me for days. Oh, that tea is almost cold. Right. Let's have a look. What time are you on? I'll set a reminder. Well, I put in my stories so you can get the notifications. and I'll be on at 3:30 p.m. UK time every day. So I'll be reading for about sort of half an hour-ish, because reading for an hour is just annoying, which is fun. But it's something to look forward to. And so at the moment I am running around looking after everyone in the house. My brother had a temperature yesterday. He's a bit tired today, but all right. He's fine. Mum, we're having to keep in isolation, so I'm making tea, washing hands, wiping surfaces. So it's lovely for me that as much as this is a just microwave the damn tea, no, that is sinful. So as much as this is lovely for you to listen to, it's a wonderful break for me to not have to do anything either. But Dad is also going out to the shops and having to work because of the business we're in. Isn't that right?
It certainly is.
Certainly is, yeah. So let's see what questions have popped up in the little question box. What are you barbecuing? Ribs? No, massive steaks. The stakes are high. No, so actually I think I took a photo because I was impressed. How do you take your tea? Internally. Do you know any Japanese words? Hayori, kimono, shibori, ni hao. I did know more, but off the top of my head, I don't really know many. I've just got a few. Geta, as in geta shoes, the wooden shoes that are worn. There was a whole. I did go through a period of knowing a lot more about the whole set of kimono. Obi, the obi belt, of course. The various names of some of the bows, because I have my own kimono. Oh, okay. On one of these I might wear my kimono. Also, a fun thing I've been doing is I've been suggesting to all of you that now we've had a few days of this, we're probably bored of being in our pyjamas and loungy tracksuity stuff. I mean, I'm not, because I'm fine. But I thought it's a really good idea. So for people to post their stories and things of everyone dressing up for the day and just dressing up, having fun. Dress like you're going out, because you're not. So dress like you're going out and have a drink. You know, mix a drink at home or have a nice cup of tea or something and Skype and chat to people. I think it's quite fun if we all just dressed up like it's a party or a wedding. Why not? Why not? How do you spend your day during isolation? Well, I'm busy looking after people, making tea, sandwiches, constant hand washing, wiping down surfaces, delivering things, slowly attempting to edit my next YouTube video, which was meant to go out today, but things have been a bit hectic family-wise at the moment. You know, I had a plan and then everything shut down and I've just been running backwards and forwards trying to do stuff. But I'll get on with that more today and should probably out... I would like to say it will probably be out to my patrons on Patreon on either Saturday or Sunday, and then probably out to the rest of the world on maybe Monday or Tuesday. So we'll see. What is my favourite cartoon? Now, I do not consider it a cartoon, for it is an art form, but probably Avatar at the moment. Do you have any plans for your future? Gosh, that's a really open-ended question, which is too much to existentially unpack right now. How do you choose books you read? Well, generally, I'm reading research books and such, but I thought I wanted to read something out at some point, and someone suggested Mythos, and Mythos was literally on the shelf above me looking at me, and I almost forgot how much I truly love this book. What inspired you to dress up today? I followed your advice, and a pretty dress feels amazing today. That's really good. That's really nice to hear. That's really, really lovely. Can you sing a song for us? I haven't quite entered that stage of insanity yet. Do you play an instrument? I do play the trumpet. I have not played the trumpet for many years, so I don't really play the trumpet anymore. But I should probably start practicing. I'm sure the neighbours would be delighted. Do you know your family? So much. I don't really know my family ancestry that much. I do know that the origin of my father's side, so I'm a Pinsent, which is actually French, Pinsent, which means chaffinch in French, which is a type of bird. And we came over on the Norman Conquest in 1066. We were French nobles. I mean, we don't have any of that money anymore, because, like, I assume we built castles and stuff. I have no idea. But it'd be interesting to work out. But I have enough research and stuff going on that I cannot be bothered to do it. So someone else can do that. Are you good at drawing or paintings? No, I am not. Oh, I can't answer that question. That's a tricky one. Who is my favourite character in Persuasion? Don't know. It changes every time I read it. It very much depends on my frame of mind. Whether I'm in a... Yeah, it really varies on frame of mind. New banyan? No, this is one of my banyans. This is what I call my pineapple banyan, because it has pineapples on it, and it's got parrots on my shoulders because that's how I cut the pattern. It was a deliberate choice. It's really nice. It's good to wear, and it's quilted as well, so it's like wearing a socially acceptable duvet. Hello, Zack. What is your favourite dessert? I love a good apple strudel with nice whipped cream because it's light but very pleasant. Or a good, really light cappuccino cake. I don't like really heavy desserts unless it's like a really rich, dark chocolate, yummy thing, but only small. I can't deal with much of it. You know, I haven't got a huge sweet tooth. But also at the same time, I have a massive sweet tooth. I don't know. Do you work out of your home? No, I have a studio, which I currently can't really use because I'm self-isolating, and also I have a broken elbow, so I cannot sew either from home. How do I keep my back from getting sore while sewing all day? Well, proper posture is what you need to adopt. It's something that you sort of get used to. Let's see what other questions have popped up. Oh, if you could dress any person, living or dead, who would you dress? Well, I suppose it would be more interesting to... Thinking about it, if given the opportunity, anyone living or dead, I'd probably like to choose my grandfather. He never got to see me grow up. I didn't know him. From all accounts, he was a very, very sharply dressed man. And Dad sees a lot of him in me. And he's just someone that I would have liked to have known. Do you make your buttons? I do indeed. What does my dad do? Well, my dad, the family company, is in elderly residential care and mental health care. So we run care homes for the elderly and for those with mental disabilities and such. So you can imagine how difficult this virus is for us, and how we're having to be so careful, and how difficult it is in this situation, dealing with very vulnerable people. Because the reason we are self-isolating at home, all of us as much as we can, is because if anything gets into a care home or affects elderly people anywhere in society, the consequences could be catastrophic. So we're self-isolating for others, not for ourselves. My father has asthma. He's currently all right. We've got all his inhalers, but we are self-isolating him from Mum, who is even more high risk. So Dad's sleeping in the lounge, Mum's sleeping in the bedroom, and we're keeping her very isolated. Basically a quarantine wall, trying to keep her as safe as possible. And my sister has to go out because we can't expect staff to come in and treat residents and everything if we don't. And when I say we, I use the royal we. I'm here. But my father and sister are doing great work trying to keep the care industry and the care homes running. And it's very difficult at the moment. Very difficult, but we're doing the best we can. So after all, you're staying at home, not for you, but for everyone else. How did I come up with the idea of reading live? Well, I thought there's only so much pleasure that people can get from asking questions, and I thought it'd be just a nice thing. I like listening to audiobooks, so I was like, hey, why not do this? And then what's great is that I start doing it, and then I see lots of other people doing it, and it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. It's fantastic. Have you seen the new Emma film? What do you think? I have not yet seen it. I wanted to see it in cinemas, but then everything was shut down. I will be seeing it once it is available to stream, which is, I think, this weekend, so I'll definitely watch it then. And I had the pleasure of working with Autumn Wilde, so that was delightful, and talking to her about the insights and everything with it was amazing. She's a true phenomenal woman and an amazing artist. So I can't wait. I honestly can't wait. And then of course I saw Tanya Reynolds, who was in it, and it was wonderful hearing about that. And yeah, and Angus Imrie as well, talking to him, and he was in it as well. So that was really fun. I'd love to meet the cast and talk to them about their experiences about wearing period clothing and what it was like, and get to give them an insight, and it would just be fun. What inspired you to dress up today? Oh, I just read that one. Let's see, any more questions that I haven't answered? If one wanted to get into making their own clothing, would altering existing pieces be a good start? That would be a perfect place to start. That would be really, really good. Very, very useful, I'd say, in terms of it would mean that you wouldn't be investing any more money into anything, but you would be able to learn and adapt from doing that. Let's see. What is my favourite piece of literature? Oh, I don't really have a favourite. What are my wigs made from? I think this one's artificial hair. If this goes on for very much longer, The Lord of the Rings may be an option. Glad your brother is better. I had thought of that, but I think I'd probably keep it. I was thinking what I would do next would be the Master and Commander series by Patrick O'Brien, which is a series of 22 books, well, 21 and a half books, which is just delightful. So that would be where I'd probably go next. Although I think I might have the next book in the Stephen Fry series. I think so. I'm not sure. Let's see what other questions. You have to close it and then open it again so it reloads. Let's see. Shameless plug. Will you come listen to me sing live in about 45 minutes? I take requests. I might do. But I think well, in 45 minutes. Yeah, no, I'll probably be able to. That's fine. If you could dress any... Oh, read that one. Your family are most commendable. We thank you and your family. Thank you. Thank you. Do you like period dramas? If so, what's your favourite? Oh, I love period dramas. I don't quite have a favourite because they're all quite interesting. Let's see. What is the thing you want the most? Well, at the moment, I just want everyone to be well. Everyone to be safe. Please think about each other. Do you speak English in an American accent? No. This is a very English accent, I believe. Yeah. I can't really do an American accent so well. I do it hilariously and ironically sometimes, but it's more of a spur of the moment type thing. I speak very sort of what is known as RP, or received pronunciation English, which is a bit more sort of plummy and posh sounding, but it's just my voice really. How tall are you? I am 5'10". A political question. I'm not going to answer political questions because we're dealing with enough stress right now to worry about politics. Let's see. Can you explain the lap pillow you use while sewing? Do you know what it's filled with? The one, so the big one I'm using is an old tailor's ham. So I didn't fill it myself, but it's generally cloth scraps, all that sort of thing. Maybe a bit of sawdust in there, but mainly it's just lots of cloth scraps. I'd say. Will you read Little Women someday? I might do. Not really a question, but I just love how pithy and sarcastic you are. I can't wait for more videos. Oh, thank you very much. Do you know any Spanish poems? No, I don't really know any Spanish at all. What book am I reading? I'm reading Mythos by Stephen Fry. Are ear piercings historically accurate for 18th and early 19th century fashion? Yes, of course. Women have worn earrings throughout history. Men have as well, but it's very dependent on fashion, and as with men's ear piercings, there's always been times where it's been appropriate and not. Did you read every Harry Potter book immediately after their release? I did, yes, and I waited in line. I was one of those people. How are you doing today? I'm okay, just tired. Dealing with a lot, but we all are. Do you knit or crochet? I have crocheted before, but I don't really do it enough. And have I knitted? No, can't really get on with that. Favourite fabric patterns, stripes, floral, etc. I suppose I prefer florals. Anyway, I'm going to bring this to a close. As we're coming to the end of it, and I need to crack on with some stuff. Yes, I loved Colonial Williamsburg, but I'll see you all tomorrow at 3:30. And remember to support small businesses, stay inside, wash your hands, and dress up if you can. Ta-ra, everyone. See you tomorrow.